All right, we stay on that story then. President Cyril Ramaphosa has described as unfortunate the issuance of a terror threat by the US government before what he says was properly informing South African authorities. The US issued a warning that a terror attack may take place this weekend in Sandton. President Ramaphosa says doing things this way has the effect of causing alarm among South Africans. Meanwhile, organisers of the 33rd Johannesburg Pride March and Pride of Africa celebration say that the event will go ahead as planned on Saturday despite this warning. We're now joined via Zoom by Martin Iwi. He is the Regional Director at the Institute for Security Studies. A very good afternoon to you, sir. Thanks very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your viewers.
Well, we've heard President Cyril Ramaphosa seemingly quite agitated at how the message was relayed to the public, saying that, you know, it caused alarm and that it should have been done through proper channels. Can we perhaps talk about these particular proper channels and how really a message like this should, in fact, be handled and sent out and disseminated to the public?
Well, the point is it's about the structure of the U.S. government system when it comes to this kind of alert. The alerts are done by the intelligence services. They run their own schedule. They run their own procedures, which are not in conformity with the diplomatic processes and procedures that the South African authorities might be advocating for. And this is not the first time that an alert like this is being issued for South Africa. And we've seen this debate over and over and over again. But I think what we need to understand is that these alerts are issued to U.S. citizens. Yes, we are also aware that they have far-reaching implications for the host nation. But because they are primarily aimed at U.S. citizens to protect them, those who are in South Africa for this particular case, then therefore the American government feel like their responsibility is to U.S. citizens rather than the South African government. Yes, they do take South African government into consideration. They do share this intelligence before they are issued publicly. So I believe that South African intelligence will have received them prior to their publication.
Yeah. And then, there's also been the question about, the intention, of this warning. Let's not forget that South Africa was asked, in fact, to request the removal of a Russian billionaire's ship, which I understand has docked here on our shores. And, there were people making a link to that, a direct link to that, to say, look, the West wasn't happy with the fact that South Africa said, you know what, the ship is going to stay here. And the next thing we know, there's, some sort of a threat. Should we see, any links there, although it's difficult not to, in fact, see some kind of a link?
We have been following this kind of alerts, not only in South Africa, but across the continent, and sometimes even for the rest of the world in order to understand what is coming our way.
Yeah.
The way these alerts are being done for South Africa, they are the same. I'm fully aware of the conspiracy theories that are always around it.
Yeah.
You will recall in 2018, 2019, when we had this similar alert and the conspiracy theories that emerged. Some said it was a U.S. plot to destroy the South African economy. Now they are using this billionaire yacht as a pretext for this. But I don't think there are any links, because this is not the first alert for South Africa this month. I'm not even talking of the year. This month, on the 11th of October, they issued a similar alert to Americans, actually warning them not to, or if they travel to Kruger Park, to exercise extra caution because of security dynamics at the Kruger Park. We didn't pick, the media did not pick this up, and therefore it went almost unheard. But there was this alert in October on the 11th. And before that, there was the security or the travel advisory that came out on the 5th of October, warning or advising U.S. citizens to exercise extra caution when they travel to South Africa because of crime and because of protests around the country. So these things are there, and we like to make these connections, but they are really not connected. I will go on and cite so many other countries that have received this alert this year, this month: Nigeria, Mali, Togo, Benin, and so many other countries. Are they all linked to the yacht? No. So we're trying to make these links, and they do not exist.
All right. And then more importantly, and I think this has been, one of the questions, in the general public since this warning came out is, is South Africa capable, when you look at its intelligence, to assess and see, such threats, potential threats, should in fact they happen? I mean, in this particular case, it seems that, our government isn't particularly concerned about it. But in a case where, there is legitimate concern, are we indeed capable? And is our intelligence, forces, are they ready for any eventuality?
I think there is a two-track response by the South African government. We hear, of course, the political track, which is the one that is being vocal, but we don't hear the intelligence themselves. And I don't think that you've heard of anyone from the intelligence coming to explain what is going on. They won't do so because it's not their place, but there is a lot going on. The South African government is quite capable. They are indeed working with foreign powers, including the Americans, trying to see how to prevent an incident of this sort. But that's on the intelligence level. Now, the question is, how involved are the politicians? How involved are the government, other government institutions to be able to understand exactly what is going on in the field? But it always seems that their involvement, or the very little involvement that they have, is problematic. But I don't think that there will ever be a time that the U.S. government will fully involve politicians in issuing this kind of alert, because of the fear that the information might leak in the wrong way, and because of the fact that it's not really for politicians. It's actually for that continuous, discreet fight against terrorism, which requires, a lot of things to be done. Why the U.S. comes out to issue this alert publicly is because of the responsibility that they owe to the American people to inform them whenever there is a perceived threat that could harm American citizens abroad.
All right, so we appreciate your time and your input. Thanks very much for giving us your time here on SABC News. That is, of course, Martin Iwi, who is the Regional Director at the Institute for Security Studies.